Hey everybody, it's GauntletX, and welcome back to some more Magic Arena. And today we're going to be playing another Premier Draft of Ikoria, Lair of Behemoths, which is back for the flashback draft season. All the way from like 2020, I think. Pretty cool format. It is Magic's take on the kaiju genre, the big monsters like Godzilla and stuff like that. So you have these gigantic creatures with the mutate mechanic that you can stack up. Whatever the biggest creature in your stack is, you get to put it on top of your mutate stack. So it's a 4/6, and then it has the abilities of everything within the mutate stack. So if you mutate this onto a 0/5 turtle, now you just have a big 4/6 and you make each opponent sack a creature. If you mutate something else onto it again, you're going to trigger both of the mutate mechanics and so on. So pretty cool new mechanic to the set. One of the other most memorable things about the format is the red-white cycling deck, or blue-white cycling, any red, white, and blue cycling build, really. It's one of the most powerful draft archetypes ever. It was pretty egregious. There's just ridiculous cycling payoffs in the format and tons of like 1 mana ways to cycle. So that's kind of a format overview sort of thing. As for our pack one pick one, I feel like it was self-explanatory enough with an excellent planeswalker like Vivian to just go into a whole spiel about the format for the return with these flashback drafts. So we take the excellent green planeswalker, we try to play a green deck with a bunch of creatures. It's as simple as that. And for pick two, we can follow up with a honey mammoth, which can guaranteed go into a deck alongside Vivian. Great way to stabilize in the late game, great big creature. Alternatives are to kind of force cycling here with Dranith Healer, which is one of the pretty good payoffs for cycling a bunch. It's going to gain you a bunch of life to help you stick around long enough to hit one of your bigger payoffs like a Zenith Flare or a Snare Tactician or something that can really take over the game. But I think we want to stick to Vivian here. We'll leave the cycling draft for a future draft. We can also take the Zagoth Mamba, which is going to trigger every time that you're mutating onto it. You can try to clear out some stuff, which is pretty cool, and green-black mutate is a pretty good place to be. I'm just going to go for the Mamba here. Now for pick number 3, we have nothing in green, nothing great in black, but Memory Leak is nice in its flexibility. Cycling for only 1 mana is incredibly easy to do. So these are really good, really in any deck, but especially in like the red-white cycling builds. But you can fit these into just random off-color decks, just to thin your deck out a little bit, get your next plays. So it's reasonable. Sleeper Dart's pretty similar to like a cycling 1 card. This is like cycling 2, but also you get a stun ability attached. There's really no good on color cards. There's a pretty great removal spell for black-white specifically, but neither of our first 2 picks are going to go well in a deck with Dire Tactics. Because the mutate, you can only mutate onto non-human creatures, and black-white's archetype is black-white humans, so if we end up going black-white humans, we're not really doing Mamba things. And obviously we're not going like green-white-black with Vivian. Uh-oh. Well, that's a pick 4 Flourishing Fox, which I don't think should ever go pick 4. I think I would take this over almost every other uncommon in the format, and I would take it over every common. We've already said red-white cycling in this format, one of the most powerful formats of all time, or one of the most powerful archetypes in draft's history. So the Flourishing Fox is one of the really powerful payoffs for that archetype, because you're just cycling a bunch of just 1 generic and 2 mana cyclers throughout the whole game. So if you run this out turn 1 and your opponent doesn't have the removal, it's going to be attacking as a 3/3 really quickly, then a 5/5, then a 7/7. It's going to kill your opponent real fast if they can't kill it. So speculation on Flourishing Fox is certainly worth it here. If we didn't want to speculate, we'd be on the Sandworm or the Jungle Hollow, I guess. Actually, that big mutate creature there would have been solid as well. Pick number 5. There's no 1 generic mana cyclers in this pack. There is a Farfinder, which is an excellent card for a mutate deck, because it's going to fix your mana, draw you an extra land, and you can mutate onto it and make a big vigilant threat. So I like the Farfinder. It's also really flexible, being completely colorless. It's fixing for any deck. So I think that's the best card for a non-cycling deck. If I want to just latch onto Flourishing Fox and never look back, then the pick is probably Lava Serpent. Doubles as a finisher that can also cycle for 2. Or the Raking Claws here can randomly kill somebody. You give your 5/5 Fox double strike or something, but I don't think the 2-mana cyclers are nearly as high picks as the 1-mana ones. And there's a 1-mana cycler. This is also one of the best ones because it's a reasonable spell on top of that. Little fight spell. The green spell is again pretty filler, the Excavation Mole. None of these off-color cards are really worth taking. We just take the Go for Blood towards red-white cycling, if that ends up being more open. And now we get an excellent hybrid green-blue card towards just green mutate monsters. Really good card to mutate onto anything, so slapping this onto a Farfinder is nice. Spitting out an extra 3/3 every time you're mutating onto your stack. Let's go. Yep, the cycling card in this pack is too generic again, so we can pass up on that for just a stronger card towards the green deck. Pick number 8 is a pretty weak pack. Mediocre combat trick, mediocre creature, mediocre 2 generic mana cycler. Probably grab another card towards the Vivian deck here. So the Vivian deck looks like Sultai Mutate, green, blue, black Mutate. This Dire Tactics just hasn't panned out. We're just not anywhere near white, black humans. But we've only got 2 cards towards red, white cycling. Yeah, Mole seems fine for Sultai. Ooh, pick 9 Pacifism. Pick 9 Deadweight is also pretty good. I actually like Pacifism a little better in this format. There's some really good abilities that obviously Pacifism doesn't stop, and that's rough. But there's enough big creatures that stopping like a big creature from attacking or blocking is a big deal pretty often over Deadweight, just only killing the small stuff. Obviously, we're a little deeper into Sultai though, so Deadweight's more likely to make the cut, but I think Pacifism's the better card. I'll still go for the Deadweight here though. We might end up, not on the full cycling pivot. We've only got 2 cards towards that deck. Now here's a Coilbug, which is a very reasonable, just cheap, non-human creature you can mutate onto. Pick 11. Hellbonder's just kind of hard to cast if you're not exactly black-red. Double black and 1 for a really hard to block 2/2 is not that great. Need a ton of menace cards before I'm super excited about that. Just take the other stuff. Alright, it's looking quite likely that we are black-green, a little bit of blue off the splash maybe. Let's see, pack 2, pick 1. We've got a very reasonable couple common removal spells like Ram Through and Deadweight towards green-black. And towards cycling we have a single Flourishing Fox. But the Flourishing Fox is way stronger than Deadweight and Ram Through in its respective deck. But with only the 2 cycling cards, feel that I can officially lock in at this point on some kind of green-black mutate build at the core here. And we can save the cycling draft for a later draft on this return trip. So our removal is just Deadweight right now. I feel like I would prefer the Ram Through then. We can definitely get really big creatures, so we can use that to kill the big stuff. We can't take Giganta here. Normally companions are really good, but I didn't even mention Giganta, and that's because Giganta's companion restriction is that we are only running cards that don't have like double symbols in their mana cost. So because Vivian's double green, if I draft Giganta, I can't play Giganta in the companion slot anyway, because I'm not going to cut Vivian. I could play Yorion, but that requires me to go heavy blue, so I have to go green, blue, splash the black, and I don't look like I'm in a very good position to do that right now. And the downside of Yorion is one of the bigger companion downsides. You have to run 20 cards more than the minimum deck size, which means you almost get to cut like literally nothing. It can be pretty difficult. Okay, so we have Blood Curdle for excellent removal, Cavern Whisper for a great mutator, Essence Symbiote for a card to mutate onto. I'm going to take the Blood Curdle here. Snare Tactician, also an insane card for the cycling deck, but we gave up on that in this pod. Pick 3. There's no good mutate cards. There is a cycling win condition, Ominous Seas. When you've drawn 8 cards, you spit out an 8/8 Kraken, and that's actually really easy to do in a cycling deck. We've got fine blue removal with Capture Sphere. We've got Mutual Destruction, which is like okay with Coil Bug, but this card's a lot better in like black-white, where you've got these little human tokens to sack around. I don't love this pack. I'm really looking for the beefy mutate creatures now, but I didn't feel like I could afford to take one over a Blood Curdle just because this is such excellent instant speed removal. We could try to take Boon of the Wishgiver. We need double blue to cast it, but draw 4 is a huge deal. And this always has the backup plan of just cycling it for 1, which is fine. Yeah, I'll take the Boon there. Pick 4, we found a really big creature. It's not a big mutator we can cast for cheap, but what's really fun about the Space Godzilla is there's a couple pieces of Graveyard Recursion in this format that will just immediately reanimate something, put something from your grave right back on board. So you can cycle this away and then sometimes put it on board for only like 5 mana, which is very fun. So we'll take the Space Godzilla, see if we can get that to happen. Could be sweet. And if nothing else, it is our random 8 mana finisher now. Pick 5, there we go. We did get a Cavern Whisperer. We can mutate onto our Farfinder, onto our Trumpeting Gnar stuff. Also Migratory Greathorn. It's a mana fixing mutator, which is decent, but I really like the discard mutator. I think that's a very impactful ability. Now we've got blue-black dual land. Skull Prophet here. Yeah, we're going to be green-black at the core. Blue is really a splash, if anything. Because Trumpeting Gnar, we don't even need blue mana for it. We can just mutate it for double green. So yeah, Skull Prophet for the mana to work seems decent. Seems a little better than Humble Naturalist, because we can spend it on our non-creature spells as well, which we've got a decent count of. I don't hate the Blitz Leech out of that pack either. The big 5/2 that gives something -2/2 when it hits the board. It's Ambush Gigapede's smaller cousin, but still good. Pick 7, this pack looks pretty empty. Primal Empathy seems pretty slow, not that powerful of a splash, but our on-color options are Spinnerets and Plummet. Let's just take this Empathy thing for if we do splash. Got an on-color rare, but it doesn't really do anything. You spend 4 mana to get more mana. That's only by exiling stuff from grave, so I'll just take the random trick, but I don't believe I'll be playing that. We got the Deadweight, pick 9. Alright, this must have been a loaded pack. I don't remember exactly what we opened here, but I'm pretty sure Deadweight was one of the top 3 or 4 cards we mentioned. I'm pretty happy to see it come back. Alright. Ooh, we did get a Blitz Leech. I'm pretty happy with that. Big 2-for-1 in the late game. We're at 22 playables right now, so we basically have a whole deck. Ideally, this last pack, we can find a bunch of good green and black stuff, just on-color cards to start cutting all the blue splash out of here to get this mana more consistent, because we don't have much fixing, if any. It's just one Farfinder. So pack 3, pick 1. There's another Space Godzilla, but we didn't find any Graveyard Recursions. I don't think I take that highly. I think I'd rather grab Chittering Harvester, a really excellent mutate ability, making each opponent sack a creature every time you mutate onto your stack. So really good with more mutate cards. I guess it's weak in the wrong matchup, right, where they have 1/1 tokens out. If you're against white, you're going to be real sad, because they're really good at making 1/1 humans, but I think I take it over another Blood Curdle. Pretty good on our non-creature count right now. I definitely take it over Space Godzilla. It's really, I guess, competing with the Cavern Whisperer. Like, is it better to make them discard a card than sack a creature? Probably not in most games. Okay, so that's a 5-mana mutate. That's a 4-mana mutate. Pack 3, pick 2. We do need a little more cheap stuff to mutate onto, so I don't mind the Essence Symbiote at all. Very good ability when you're mutating onto it. Actually, this helps when you're mutating anywhere. Doesn't even have to mutate onto the symbiote specifically, which is pretty cool. I'll take that over a 3rd Deadweight. We need more cheap creatures. Make sure we have cards slap mutate onto. Here's a Blood Curdle. I think I'll take a second Blood Curdle here pretty happily, taking it over Survivor's Bond now. But the Bushmeat Poacher actually has a really good ability too. Yeah, it's probably Blood Curdle number 1, Poacher number 2, Survivor's Bond number 3. But those all look pretty solid. Pick 4, we've got the Honey Mammoth for a big stabilizer in the late game. We've got the Lurking Deadeye to make your smaller creature trade up pretty well. This is much better in like Black-White where you have a bunch of 1/1s. Less good here. Like, it's really good with the Whisper Squad. An army of Whisper Squads you can draft. I think our deck just wants a Honey Mammoth. Kitten. Really good 7-mana ability, but... Well, I guess it's not competing with anything. I was going to say, but I don't really want to splash it, but I guess there's no other cards in that pack for any choice anyway. And here, there's just a Fully Grown, which is pretty filler, so we take an Evolving Wilds towards the blue splash. So we can go Evolving Wilds, Farfinder, run a single island, and then like throw a Kitten in here, so if we ever get to 7 mana, start dumping stuff out for free. I don't know, it's cool. I guess it's not for free, right? We still have to pay 7 mana to dig and try to play them. But it could be cool, and here's another blue source for free, Ikoria Triome. It's another blue source without having to cut a forest, because it's a forest as well. Pick 8. Some kind of filler on-color creature like Bristling Boar, I guess. Gives us another creature to mutate onto. Another non-human. We didn't get any graveyard recursion for Space Godzilla, so I actually think that Cavern Whisperer, second copy of this, looks better. So we'll grab that. And looks like that's going to be the deck, right? You know, Suffocating Fumes might be main deckable because the 1/1 token decks are annoying. And you can always cycle it if it's not one of those kinds of decks that has all the 1/1 human tokens. I might try out main decking one of Suffocating Fumes with this deck. We'll see how much room we have in it for sure. But it looks like a solid green-black mutate monsters build. We've got great removal. We've got a Vivian for a bomb rare, and we've just got a bunch of decent filler creatures throughout the curve. A little bit low on cheap cards, but we have cheap removal to make up for that. So first and foremost, I'm going to mostly drop the blue splash. So we can go a single island, a Ikoria Triome, and an Evolving Wilds, and that's 4 blue sources, because we have Island, Triome, Evolving Wilds, and Farfinder. So with one island, we can splash in like a single blue card pretty easily. And I think the strongest card here to splash in is probably the Kinnan. Just if you get into a long game, you just use this as a 7-mana mana sink and just dump your top cards onto the board during your opponent's end step every turn. I guess I've already got a lot of expensive stuff, but I don't know. It seems fun enough, and I have like Triome and Evolving Wilds and Farfinder, so it's really not making our mana base that much worse. To just throw in a single random Kinnan kind of thing. This is 17 lands still, right? Yeah, 17 lands. We might want 18 with this big stack up high. But I guess we have Skull Prophet and Farfinder for more mana sources. Alright, let's drop this Shimmerer thing. And then this is 5 mana on the mutate. 2 more cards to cut. We definitely can't cut any 1 or 2 drops. I don't really like the Mole very much, but I don't think I can cut 3 drops either. We could cut the Boar. A 4 drop that helps mutate isn't that great, because I guess that's a 5 mana mutator. Yeah, we've got 2 4 mana mutators, 2 5 mana mutators. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 creatures to mutate onto. I guess they mutate onto each other, if nothing else as well. I kind of think I might need to leave the Boar in just for mutate numbers. What's the creature count at here? 15? I guess we can just cut some non-creatures then. 15 is fine. So probably Unexpected Fangs, Random Combat Trick, maybe the Dark Bargain as well. Try to get ahead in card advantage, not just by like straight drawing cards, but by making our opponent sack stuff and discard cards and stuff, turn all our mutate stuff into 2-for-1s maybe. Be okay. I guess Sleeper Dart is literally just filler. Just cycles itself away. I really want to play the main deck Suffocating Fumes. It might be wrong, but I kind of do. But yeah, I mean, look at the rest of our non-creatures if I set these aside. Like double Deadweight, Ram Through, double Blood Curdle, Vivian. It's hard to cut any of these, so it would be stuff out of the stack for sure. Okay, so if I could only put 2 of these cards back in, what do I think fills holes in our deck in terms of what we're weak against the best? Or what we're missing out on the best? Like, I guess we don't have, like, any straight card draw in here. We just have, like, random cycling, so we can throw a Dark Bargain in for card advantage. And then these other 3 are all pretty equally filler. I guess Unexpected Fangs can be, like, a blowout in the right position. And a lifelink counter. It is super position dependent. I guess worst case scenario, we're just playing it like an aura, just to turn something into a lifelinker forever. On a beefy creature, ideally. Try to outrace quicker decks. So I kind of feel like the Fangs and the Fumes are both like trying to outrace the quick decks that are like spreading out a bunch of wide board states. Sleeper Dart, it's done one thing one time. I don't know. I think any of these would be reasonable, but I'll try the Fangs out. I think they're all pretty comparable. We'll roll with that one, and we'll call it a deck here. All right, here's a look at the final deck list for today. We're on a green-black mutate build. So with this kind of archetype, you have a bunch of cards with the mutate mechanic that is unique to the Ikoria format, where you can stack these cards all up together onto one really big mutated creature, and then every time you mutate onto it, you're going to have something crazy happen, like each opponent discards a card and you make a 3/3, or each opponent discards a card and sacks a creature. So some stuff like that, and a lot of good 2-for-1 abilities in this kind of deck. So we're just running a good chunk of mutate creatures alongside just some beef at the top end of the curve to try to slam out on the board and just play bigger endgame threats than our opponent can really block well. And then we've just got tons of excellent on-color removal, some Blood Curdles, Deadweights, Ram Throughs, the kind of stuff you want in any deck, and the very nice Vivian Monsters Advocate as a pretty sweet bomb rare. So very fun looking deck to start off the return trip to Ikoria. We'll see how it all plays out for us as we head into the gameplay. Alright, here we are on the draw for game number 1. They are on red, so probably pretty aggressive here. Fingers crossed they don't kill us before we get to cast much, but there they go with one of the best 2-drops in the format. Definitely the best one for blue-red, the Sprite Dragon. 2 mana, 1/1 flying haste. Whenever they cast a non-creature spell, they put a +1/+1 counter onto that. So that is just going to jam out a ton of damage super quick. This thing can become a 4/4 or 5/5 flyer later in the game. That's going to be a hard card to outrace without one of our deadweights, and we didn't draw either copy. So we're going to be taking quite a bit of damage from the dragon. Well, maybe not. They don't have a non-creature spell to follow it up with yet. They're going to curve out with a Spell Eater Wolverine. And that also means they didn't get to have a removal spell on our Skull Prophet here. So we can Blood Curdle, but I can also Essence Symbiote, holding up an Unexpected Fangs, which obviously isn't going to work great as a combat trick, but we can turn something into a lifelinker to just give us plenty of time. And try to race them a little bit with some lifelink. Maybe it's better to hold up Blood Curdle here. I don't think we were going to cast Excavation Mold no matter what. I think it's between Essence Symbiote holding up an Unexpected Fangs. Uh-oh. And just hold up Blood Curdle. I guess if we just held up Blood Curdle, we would have countered the Mythos of Aluna, but it's kind of hard to play around a rare. There's only one of in the format. There's only one copy spell, that is. Alright, well that's not good. We still got the Wolverine to not attack us here. It's worth grabbing lifelink right now. Yeah, we're facing 2 Sprite Dragons in the sky. I think gaining a little bit of life is going to be a pretty big deal. So let's slap lifelink onto the symbiote. So if we mutate just one time, it's a 4/4 lifelinker to get into the Wolverine, or to get past the Wolverine. Alright, we can start Vivianing for some reach creatures, maybe? Or I can just Blood Curdle the Sprite Dragon and make Symbiote have Menace. These both seem pretty reasonable. I'll go for the Vivian here. She's gonna have 4 loyalty. But I guess if they just spend, you know, 1 removal spell on the reach creature, that is enough to kill Vivian, because that's gonna buff both the Sprite Dragons. Yeah, double Sprite Dragon is just really explosive, the amount of power. Okay. Goodbye, Vivian. She still drew removal from them and gained us 5 life here. So, still pretty good work done from her.
I didn't expect to be prey.
Now we can Honey Mammoth for life gain. Or Blood Curdle a Sprite Dragon. If I wait 1 turn... If I wait 1 turn... 1 more... Yeah, 1 more mana could mean Blood Curdle plus Excavation Mole. Sorry, my brain completely short-circuited there for a second. It is prone to doing that. Our Unexpected Fangs has played very badly, because we just haven't drawn into anything to mutate onto the symbiote, so... Felt like we were under enough pressure to just be mana efficient and get some lifelink rolling, potentially. But so all it really ended up doing was hold back the Wolverine, which we could have done with just a 2/2 symbiote. So had we held it, we would have had like a 7/7 lifelink mammoth now. That could be the play of the game that gets us here, just the fact that we threw the unexpected thing at them early. So I'm gaining significantly less life on attacks at this point. Obviously, if I had just held up Blood Curdle and we could have Blood Curdled in response to Mythos, we would have been in just an insanely good spot. But that's a huge hindsight play where, like, how would we know they had exactly Mythos of Illumina? Clear out the Mammoth here. It's fine. We still kill 2 of their creatures if they do that, one of which is the double striker. Cool. Alright, we gotta draw into something. But we do have some outs. If we can get rid of this dragon, we've got a lot of removal in this deck. We milled 3 lands, so that helps our odds of drawing something decent. We would not have wanted to hit any of those. Oh, gross. Alright, well that's just mega dead, period. Alright. Certainly could have played out a bit better. The early Unexpected Fangs went really poorly. But had I saved it for the Honey Mammoth because they just had the Frostveil Ambush in the end, I think we still just die. So unless I had made some like big hindsight kind of plays of specifically playing around Mythos sort of stuff, I don't think we can turn that one around. Like, maybe there was also the just not playing Vivian because Vivian would be dead to 1 removal spell, but I think our alternative line was super great there either. I guess if we had Blood Curdled instead of Vivian and then Vivian the next turn, Vivian would have still been barely alive against removal? Potentially. It depends if they had other non-creatures to cast instead. I don't know, there were a lot of ways that game could have went a bit different. I don't think we're ever just like slam dunk winning that game just by a huge lead or anything, but maybe there's enough little things that could have flipped in the other direction to turn it around. We're on game 2 now. Sultai mirror match. This time we are on the play, which feels good. Great curve, 2-drop, 3-drop, 4-drop. We actually have a mutator this game. Jam in for 2. They're going to cycle a greater sandworm. Put a big 7/7 in their grave. They could recur. That was a horrific mill for us. 3 non-lands. I guess we have an 8-drop in the hand, so if we do flood, we can find a use for 8 mana. There's Kinnan. No blue source here. You may cast Brockos from your graveyard. Great, that is just our luck, isn't it? Yikes. Make our opponent discard a card, and it's a card they can cast from their graveyard. Not only is it a card they can cast from their grave, but it's a bomb rare they can cast from their grave. They can turn this this Farfinder into a 6/6 trample. Yeah, basically they have a 5 mana 6/6 trample next turn as their play. Yikes. There's the Farfinder for Kinnan. So I can be mana efficient here, but Kinnan isn't going to get activated this turn anyway. It's going to take 2 turns to activate Kinnan. I think I still should put them on the board. Because we're going to be competing with the 6/6 trample next turn, so... Get this board nice and wide, send in the team, and then Space Godzilla, whatever gets blocked. They could miss a land drop here and they don't do this. I guess they do need double green specifically. They don't have double green. They have to cast some other stuff here. So it's just going to be removal for Kinnan. Fair enough. And we cannot block that because of Menace. So we're down to 18. There's a ram through. So I can cycle a Space Godzilla and cast Ram through to destroy any creature at instant speed. Or I can just ram through the Farfinder right now so that they don't have a non-human creature. To mutate the Space Godzilla onto. But if they spend their next turn mutating a Space Godzilla, we're going to kill their only blocker and they're going to go to like 1. I don't think I play around them trying to put Space Godzilla onto the Farfinder. I think we just hold on to both of these so I can ram through something else. Because if I just ram through a Farfinder and they just cast like a 4/4 from their hand or something, that's pretty bad. Pretty dang bad. Okay. Yeah, I mean, sure. I actually don't know how this works. Excess damage. I think excess damage with Death Touch Trample, I might still kill them here. Because I might do 2 damage to them off of the ram through, because the excess damage is dealt to face. Yeah, okay. It actually is still lethal. I wasn't sure how that was going to work out. Because I know that Death Touch Trample, obviously during combat damage, you get to trample over. That counts as your excess combat damage, but I didn't know if like the non-creature damage with like a ram through Death Touch would still count as excess damage the same way, but it does. All right, cool. Space Godzilla, ram through. Combo gets there. Oh, I just realized I called our opponent's thing the wrong thing. It's not. Oh, it is Space Godzilla. They're both Space Godzilla. All right, well, Godzilla's all over the place, and we are 1-1 heading into game 3. All right, here we are for game 3. We've got another Kinnan to cast here. We'll see if this one manages to stick around till 7 mana. Probably not, but who knows? I do like that we're going to have the mana to cast a Kinnan and a Deadweight on turn 4 together. We're on the draw, though, so we might have to cast Deadweight sooner. We'll see. Now we've got a Blitz Leech for an alternate. Great high mana value card. Okay, I'm not repeating that other game. We are going to have to cast Deadweight sooner. I am not going to get Sprite Dragoned here. Just get out of the board. Just get out of here. Polywog Symbiote. So now all their mutate costs cost 1 less. And they get to draw a card, discard a card every time they mutate. That's pretty cute. And they're just going to pass there. I think I would rather them counterspell Kinnan than the Skull Prophet right now, because we need to top deck 3 more mana sources for Kinnan to do anything. Whereas Skull Prophet is already helping the hand a lot, because we have multiple good high mana value things to do. We're pretty low on mana here, when we've got a 6-drop and an 8-drop. So if they want to Essence Scatter Kinnan, that's pretty cool. And they don't want to Essence Scatter Kinnan, so we play the Skull Prophet and then pass. Five mana now from our opponent. Oh, is this the double fight spell? The 2-for-1? They kill Kinnan and Skull Prophet by making them fight each other? That'd be kind of nasty. Nope. They're just reading our cards. Well, now I have the 6 mana for a Blitz Leech no matter what. I'm only 1 land draw away from activating Kinnan. I think I'm just going to pass here. I could attack with Farfinder, and then if they block, I can Blitz Leech in response. But I don't really want to be, like, tapped out here. I want to be able to surprise Blitz Leech, kill a Lava Serpent kind of thing, which is what we're going to end up doing. Wait, what is it? Why is it spending less than it costs? Wait, how? Oh, Kinnan's doubling up the Skull Prophet mana? Oh, I already could have afforded Kinnan? Oh, I forgot about the other ability. Well, that's dumb. I should have just Kinnan'd right now, probably, then. Alright, 1-for-1 trade a Blitz Leech off, but now I realize I can just use Kinnan already, so we just start doing that. I guess I could just cast a Space Godzilla because of Kinnan's double up mana. Okay, no, that's actually sick. I'm just going to cast this then. Alright, now I will remember the first ability on Kinnan in the future. I completely disregarded it because usually it's completely irrelevant in draft, but we actually have 1 card in our entire deck that is a non-land permanent that taps for mana, and that's Skull Prophet. So in this exact position, we could have Kinnan to turn earlier. Ooh, wow, this is nasty. Mamba, Chittering Harvester, wipe the board. I'm gonna put the 4/6 body over. Yeah, and they just concede. I need to figure out the order to stack that in correctly, but I can do -2/-2 to the 2/2, and then they're forced to sacrifice the 1/3, then I can send in the whole team, and I've got like an active Kinnan rolling. That was just a blowout. Being able to kill that Sprite Dragon just left our opponent with basically no action from there. Kind of some weak draws from them, and some strong draws from us. Gonna let us be 2-1 now as we head into game 4. Here we are now for game number 4. We don't have a black source in this hand, which actually could be a pretty big problem, but Essence Symbiote is a great 2-drop, and Vivian is one of our best 5-drops. So the core of the hand, the green stuff, is really great, and obviously if we hit the black source, we are very happy, because if they don't kill the Symbiote, then mutating onto that is excellent. And even if they do, we might be able to have a beast from the Vivian, and there's the black source immediately. So we don't have a 3-drop, but we have a turn 2, 4, and 5 play, and they're all pretty good cards. Playing against a blue-black deck, there is the Boot Nipper, Death Toucher, or a Lifelinker. They're going to go for the Death Touch here. Find an Unexpected Fangs. So I could just throw Lifelink out turn 3. That didn't play super well in our first game. But it gives me an option for something to do next turn if I really want to. But obviously, if they don't attack with the Death Toucher, there's really not much point in doing that. I could play around a deadweight here. That's kind of nice. If they try to deadweight the Symbiote, putting a +1/+1 counter on it is a pretty excellent response, because if Symbiote isn't on the board next turn, I don't have a creature to play. I'll still have my removal spell, but missing out on the creature will be bad. I guess I'm going to have a Menacing Essence Symbiote next turn. I'm just going to repeat past mistakes again. Maybe I should just swap Unexpected Fangs out again. Or again, just swap it out, period. Because I'm just always going to play it the wrong way. Because I just get excited about mana efficiency. But now this is a 5/5 Menace Lifelink. Actually a 6/6 Menace Lifelink, right? Because Symbiote triggers as well for an additional counter. That's kind of cool. Oh, they have the ram through. That's kind of not cool. But still got 2 cards out of their hand here. Doesn't end up actually being that advantageous card advantage-wise because I spent another card, the Unexpected Fangs, to make that even bigger. Titan's Nest. Okay, so they have infinite mana. Not true, they only have 2 extra mana. So they keep surveilling and they have extra mana. It's such a weird card. I'm just gonna play a Vivian. Play the best blockers I can. Let's go Vigilance here. I could go Reach. Could go Reach in case they mutate a flyer onto the Boot Nipper, but then I would just be chump blocking anyway because the blue flyer that mutates is a 3/4. So I think I'd just get Vigilance here. Oh. Gigan Cyberclaw Terror. I don't even know how to say that correctly. But we're super lucky. So that's Gyruda. Doom of Depths. Each player mills 4 and they get to reanimate an even mana value card from each grave. They milled 4 non-creatures from each of us. Well, no, we hit an odd mana creature, but that was the saddest. Gyruda. Okay, so I can cast a Kinnan so that if I top deck a land, Kinnan's ready to go. Let's go Vigilance again, and let's go Vigilance Menace, kill this while they're tapped out. So they're playing off the top, and we have just a bomby board here. Wait, how do I know what's on top of my deck? Oh my god, I need to read my cards! This is the first time I think that Vivian has been around long enough for it to matter. But yeah, Vivian lets me look at the top and I can cast creatures off the top. You Unbreakable Bond the Cyberclaw Terror. Now they've got another chance at reanimating something, and they did. They got a Bristling Boar. Plus it has Lifelink. So that's nasty. Well, at least they milled me into the mana for Kinnan. So that's fun. What is the -2 again? Whenever you cast a creature, search for a creature with lesser value, put it on the battlefield, then shuffle. So instead of getting a 3/3, I can get any creature with mana value 4 or less. So I'll be casting it for mana value 5 here. What creatures do I have I could tutor up? I could find a Bristling Boar, a Farfinder, an Excavation Mole, a Skull Prophet, a Mamba. Okay, a bunch of poop. Honestly, I think a 3/3 is just better, and it keeps Vivian farther out of reach. Speaking of, I'm going to get reach. It's going to make a very big blocker, right? Can gamble on a non-human creature, but I just have a guaranteed good play, so I'm going to roll with that for now. Chip in for some Vigilant Menace damage. Boop. Alright, we got double Gyruda, but they only got one creature out of the double Gyruda. Or one extra creature. And they're getting Vivian'd right now, so I think we're good. Just make sure they keep getting Vivian'd. We don't get to keep our Mutate stack, but whatever. If we can keep our Vivian, she is going to take over the game. 3/3 every single turn and just be at an insurmountably large amount of loyalty. There's a 7/7. Okay. Skull Prophet on top of our deck. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. If I choose to cast a Skull Prophet, I don't get to just Kinnan. And if I Kinnan, I can hit Skull Prophet worst case scenario. So we definitely just Kinnan then.
I love making new friends.
This is instant speed, right? Yeah, it is instant speed. I need to play more competitive Brawl. I would know all about Kinnan. Unless Kinnan's been banned, I don't think so. But I know Kinnan's a pretty popular, pretty absurd commander, or at least was. Oh, hello there. Boop. Nice 7/7. Say hello to my 8/8. Yep, they're over it. Fair enough. That win has brought us to at least a 50-50 run. Worst case scenario for the return trip to Ikoria, we are now 3-1 as we head into game number 5. And here we are for game 5. We got that excellent Skull Prophet ramp. The one thing that's awkward though is I need to swap Unexpected Fangs out. I don't know if it's Unexpected Fangs' problem or my problem, but I keep playing that in bad ways. Anyways, the issue with the Skull Prophet here, oh no. We are against the menace of the format, red-white cycling, the strongest archetype by a wide margin. If every archetype is equally open, if you draft red-white cycling, you're going to crush everybody. Oh, maybe we're not against red-white cycling. Alright. I completely lost my train of thought because I got scared when I saw Mountain into Cycle Vantasaur. But so far so good. I am not gonna Unexpected Fangs this time. We'll see if it works any better for me if I just hold on to it. I think earlier I was saying I really need to swap Unexpected Fangs out for something else. I don't know if it's my fault or Unexpected Fangs' fault, but it's just not. It's not being a good Magic card. It's probably a little bit of both. A little bit of both. We'll take equal blame on this one. Just running that thing as an aura. Oh yeah, they're definitely not red-white cycling. There's some Reanimator deck that might be trying to reanimate the Vantasaur, I guess. Alright, we missed the land drop, which is rough because we had multiple really good 5-mana plays. No universe in which they double block that, yeah. I can't imagine it's worth just fangsing there. Maybe I'm just going to play it the complete opposite wrong way and never cast it this game. Because I'm always like, well, is that worth it? Is that worth it? And just never play it. Alright, Chittering Harvester actually does not look very good against this board because they had a 2-drop that spit out 2 1/1 tokens. So they have really easy creatures to sack. Uh-oh. Well, at least Blood Curdle's like a solid draw. Even though it's not the mana we need. If they triple block, they still have a good block. But if they single block this with Naturalist, that's not going to play well for them without another instant. Double block. Okay, without an instant, we just kill the Naturalist and keep the Coil Bug. I have a Fire Prophecy here. If they have a Fire Prophecy, it's actually so good. Okay. Yeah, no, this is fine. Obviously, we're getting 2 for 1. But we would have, like, no shot this game if they just killed my Skull Prophet. I'm surprised they did that instead of just letting it through and then killing Skull Prophet. Because they know that we haven't played a land in the last couple turns, and we're on a green deck, and these decks need to get to high mana values. Maybe they've got additional removal? Or they just want to be nice and give me a chance here. I appreciate that. They're not being nice, they just have multiple removal spells. Well, this game's over then. It was a really reasonable keep, right? We had a 3-lander and a mana dork. I might be wrong about that. It was worst case scenario, a 2-lander with a mana dork. So it was 3 mana minimum in the opener. But I think it was 4. I think it was all of these lands and the Prophet. So, I mean, what can you do? Apparently, literally nothing. That's what Arena says. When your opponent makes it to 8 mana and you cannot draw the 4th land, Arena really didn't want us to win that one, and we are now 3-2 heading into Game 6. Here we are for Game 6. Mono green is quite awkward. We don't hit a blue source, we aren't doing anything until turn 4. If we don't hit a black source, we're not doing anything late game. And even if I hit both, I'm on 2-drop into 4-drop, then 5-drop. It's not even a great curve if I do hit perfectly. I'm gonna mulligan this one. This is much better mana. Also got the Farfinder so I can ditch a land pretty freely. I actually could have held on to the Triome just in case I absolutely flood out so I can cycle it, but I think it's better to just get the tapped mana out of the way and make sure I can run out all of my spells on curve. We go untapped land Farfinder, untapped land Boar. Just curve on up. No, the Fire Prophecy for the Symbiote. I guess I could have Coil Bugged first because it's more expendable if they want to just throw removal somewhere immediately. But Symbiote would be the better attacker sooner if they are the kind of deck that just wants to curve out creatures against us. So there's arguments either way. Obviously the way we ran it out played out worse. I already have double green, so let's get the second black. Spell Eater Wolverine. Here's that unexpected fangs I still haven't cut. Can't be blocked by more than one creature. Can't be blocked except by 2 or more. So I could make a completely unblockable Cavern Whisperer really slowly. I would have to tap out for a Bristling Boar, and then next turn, mutating onto the Boar, I'm only giving it 1 more toughness. I'm not adding any more power to the board, but I am making an unblockable creature. I feel like that's really cute, but I don't think we can play this out that slow. To just go Boar into Whisperer on the Boar. Just not even really expanding our board that turn. We're adding 1 toughness and 0 power to the board. I'm not going to let Cavern Whisperer get combat tricked. Okay, I wouldn't have hated the trade if they don't have a combat trick and they just wanted to go trade Wolverine up in a Whisperer. But we have the unexpected fangs, so, you know, how can we ever lose a race? Think I'd rather play Boar still, take another hit from that thing? Okay, Boar's probably pretty bad. They have a 2-mana instant. That might just be a bunch of cycling. Yeah, it looks like they were trying to be a cycling deck. They ended up red-blue cycling instead of red-white. So Arena's always going to hold for them. Alright, I mean, if it's a Fire Prophecy, we're gone. But if it's other instance, and we get to keep these creatures on board. Bristling Boar is the significantly better play than just like dropping a Coil Bug holding up Fangs. Uh-oh. Yeah, this is actually a pretty nasty cycling deck from our opponent. They've got the Reflection for the 5/4 Trample Haste. I'm going to get demolished by the cycling deck this round. It snuck up on me. I thought the cycling deck was the last one, but here it is. I go to 3 life if I let all of this in, then I crack back and I go to 8 with 2 blockers up. Okay. Ram through's real. I guess I don't have 2 blockers up anymore. I kind of want to just do this while they're tapped out and gain another 5. If I had a trampler, they would just be like dead. But I don't get to do excess damage because I don't get to trample off the ram through. I guess at 3 life, ram through can really like sneak up for lethal. If we do it next turn with 3 creatures on board, I should go for the Coil Bug here. I might die for this choice. We'll see. If they can kill both these creatures, then yeah, I die for doing this. They have to kill both these creatures and cycle a card for Reflection. So it has to be like 2 2-mana removal spells and a 1-mana cycler. Uh-oh. There's the 1-mana cycler. I like what? Pacifism, Fire Prophecy. It's gotta be efficient. That is not that. They have to do like +3/+3? Can't think of like a +3/+3 combat trick. There's a +2/+1. If they have Zenith Flare, like we just lose. Like we're never beating any deck with Zenith Flare. They already have well over lethal, no matter what we choose to do, because they could just Zenith Flared the Whisperer and killed us. I think we just do this. Go to 3. Oh, well, I mean, GG. Okay. They could have played that out a million ways and we would die, because Zenith Flare is the unbeatable menace of the format. That was the full cycling deck from our opponent. Snuck up on me, though, with the blue and the red mana, looking more like a spells deck at the start, but... Yep, Zenith Flare is the big red stain on what is otherwise a somewhat interesting, somewhat cool format. Cycling just a bit too strong. That was interesting, though, because it did sneak up on us a bit with them being red-blue more, like splashing in the white half of the deck instead of being red-white. The red-white cycling decks are like really upfront about what they're doing, and you die like super fast. Because they have Snare Tacticians to keep tapping down all your blockers, so you just can't block anything, you can't attack in. And they have like Drannith Healers and Drannith Stingers that are just on the board early, triggering every time they cycle. This deck, like, they had a bunch of cyclers. They didn't have anything until the Reptilian Reflection hit. I thought they were just like blue-red spells in general. But as soon as the Reflection hit, I was like, okay, well, we might be dead. And sure enough, we were pretty dead. So if we had held on to Ram Through instead of casting the Coil Bug, then what would happen there? We would still definitely lose, but I don't think we would lose that turn. No, we would have lost that turn. Yeah, never mind. If they didn't show us the Zenith Flare, which they didn't, they held on to it for later, there was no way that... Like, I would just have these 2 creatures on board. I don't think there's any way I would have been like, yeah, I'm just going to block one of these with Whisper. I would have tried to ram through, and then we would have just died to Zenith Flare. And even if I did, like, super prophetically be like, I know they have exactly Zenith Flare, there's not even a way to play around it, because at that point, they have the Zenith Flare. I just block Wolverine with Whisperer, take the trade and take 5, so I stay at the same life total thanks to the life gain, which means I would still be at 8. I think. Yeah, I'd be at 8 against the Zenith Flare, but then I wouldn't have Whisper anymore. I'd have a single boar. They'd be at 3 against our single boar. Then they could just Zenith Flare the boar, and I'm top decking with a Ram Through in hand. Well, a Ram Through and a Coil Bug, but yeah, like I could have had a draw step or two if I knew that they had exactly Zenith Flare in hand and I just gave up on the Whisper on the trade. But honestly, I think it's only like one draw step. Because even if they just have to flare the boar to not die at 3, which they don't, they could flare my face and gain life to not die. Okay, no, I don't think things... This is a huge hypothetical. There's really no point in going through it at this point. But I'm just trying to like play through it like what would have been their best plays there. So if I did the absolute best play and just traded into Wolverine, then they would probably just pass. Then we would untap, try to kill them with boar. They would respond by Zenith flaring our face so that they end up at 9 taking 4. They're actually still at 5, but our only blocker is now tapped. I can play a Coil Bug from there. I have a single 2/2 blocker against their 5/4 that can give itself trample pretty easily. They untap, cycle, get the 5/4 trample. We ram through the 5/4 trample. I'm left with a single 2/2, and our opponent is at 5 against... Oh wait, no, I'm not left with a single 2/2 if they Zenith Flare our face. So it depends on if they Zenith Flare our face or they Zenith Flare the boar. If they Zenith Flare the boar, we almost definitely lose. But if I had played perfectly around Zenith Flare and knew that was exactly what they had, and then they played to kill, to shoot us to try to lethal instead of shooting the boar, then maybe then we can win a top deck war. I don't know. It's probably not worth the gigantic, super long hypothetical in the end, but you all know by now that is kind of just how I am. I am very, very neurotic. I like to go back and forth and just be like, hey, what could this been and what could that been? I'm like the old man at the end of yeah, what was it, Toy Story or something? I don't remember where that short came from, but I'm the old man playing chess with himself, going back and forth. I'm Charlie Day with the big conspiracy theory board. I'm just like, what would have went differently? Anyways, so there were 2 maybe winnable games with perfect plays, I guess. So we end 3-3, but maybe... I feel like we were not winning the very last game unless we were like completely prophetic. But the first game, there were like a bunch of little lines that went poorly. So I think we could have played pretty tight in that one and maybe even without being prophetic won that. So 3-3 due to some user error. I think we'll take that. It's like a 3-3 deck here, but maybe with a better player. It can be a 4-3, a 5-3, something like that. I think the deck looks solid, but it doesn't look incredible. So I don't hate that to start the format off nice and average. We've got really good removal, but the creature curve leaves a little to be desired. We would have liked a little bit more menace, or a little bit more mutate, so that you can double up these mutate abilities a lot more often, and a little bit more cheap creatures to mutate those onto. Some less filler cards like the Bristling Boar and the Excavation Mole. Like, we're running an Excavation Mole with no graveyard recursion, so there's some pretty filler stuff going on in the deck, and we had some rough luck as well in some of those losses. At least loss number 2 for sure. I mean, we started with like a 3-lander and drew 0, so there's that. But yeah, solid little average run to start off the format. Hopefully we can just go up from here, but it's not a terrible place to start things off, with our end result being 1,000 gems and 2 packs as the final prize. But that is going to end today's video. As always, I'd like to thank my patrons and YouTube members for their support, as well as you for watching the video. If you enjoyed this video and are interested in seeing more, you can always like, comment, and subscribe to tell the YouTube algorithm to send you some more in your recommended feed. If you'd like to catch me live, you can check out the Twitch channel in the link in the description below. And if you'd like to support the channel directly, you can check out the Patreon link in the description below. But other than that, as always, thank you very much for watching, and I'll see you again soon for some more Magic Arena.